Boltz has risen to be one of the absolute most feared and respected players in all of North America's Central and Trios after formation with Rapid and Pollo. However, Boltz is proving this chapter that he is one of the best solo players and solo fraggers in the world, with an absolute dominant performance in the most recent solo Cash Cup. In today's video, we're going to break down one of his wins in that finals and what allowed him to win this Cash Cup by a significant margin. Boltz is landing at the POI of Demon's Dojo, and this is for a couple of reasons. First, the POI itself boasts a respectable amount of loot density, having 26 chests, 51 floor spawns, and floor slurp barrels to work with, but obviously the biggest advantage of landing here is if you eliminate the mythic boss, you end up getting the mythic AR and the absolutely broken void mask that is mythic, granting you 50 rotations throughout the game, which in this meta is incredibly crucial. And fortunately for Boltz here, he's going to get all of this loot for free as he is completely uncontested in this match. After securing the mythic loot, Boltz is going to spend most of the time gathering ammo before leaving and then using the area around the POI to farm materials up. He's going to quickly use his void mask to go all the way to a shrine to find a Bob to sacrifice so he can get the water boon, because this is completely broken for healing in this new meta. After securing the water boon, essentially Boltz is set up for this endgame, minus not having really any metal materials, but he's going to easily fix this problem by just using the void mask to go down to pump power and essentially farm all of his metal back up, giving him absolutely everything he needs already for this endgame, not even close to third zone. After securing all of his metal, Boltz is still finding ways to improve his position for the endgame. He's going to immediately use the void mask to go to a water source and realizes that there's an old box which he can reclaim. He's first going to make it in hard materials so he doesn't get sprayed, but smartly here is going to split his materials so he can refarm up his wooden brick, giving him a significant amount of extra just in case he needs it. Also, he's going to sit in this box here and farm up fish, as shield fish are by far the strongest heal in this meta due to the fact of there being no bullet drop. It is essential to have quick heals, and also remember that he does have the water boon, so in case he ends up getting an engagement here, he can simply just heal by standing in the water. After he's completed fishing, he sits in the box for a while and tries to find tags onto opponents around him. However, once the zone pops, he decides to move. He uses his void mask to get deeper into the zone and essentially boxes up initially around where the boss in the sky spawns. He ends up eating a little bit of damage here, but notice how he doesn't waste any of his fish and decides to use the void mask to once again get to a body of water. So again, if he takes damage, he can heal, and this way he's able to have more heals for the end game. Zone now pops, and this time he is actually in zone, and from this position he's going to do a much better job of capitalizing on his need for surge, as he ends up cracking one from the shield and even picking up an elimination onto another opponent, and now he is truly set for the end game, securing a significant amount of materials, heals, as well as storm surge. Once the next zone pulls, he decides to be aggressive with his rotations, essentially void masking as often as possible. He smartly uses his wood here to block off his back initially, and once he sees a brick opportunity to refarm, he boxes up in those hard materials, refarms, and then goes. Eventually, he's going to get on a very nice elevated position and use his metal here to establish himself before the moving zones start to commence. Next zone pulls, and due to his elevated position, this is going to be a free rotation, as with one use of the void mask, he is already in zone, and he also gets a minor refarm opportunity as he's on top of the metal building, thus giving him a free opportunity to shoot opponents around him for additional storm surge. And as you're going to see, he's going to be significantly above the threshold before going into this endgame. The next zone is going to be a horrible pull, as it is a max distance zone. However, due to his void mask, he's able to essentially close the distance after using it once to get on a low layer right next to water to heal back up, and then he can also use it to go directly to front side here, getting himself established in a hard match right before the zone begins to pull. This early positioning is going to really pay off, as all he has to do now is use one void mask to get in the middle of the zone, and he establishes himself on a decently high layer, giving him a lot of flexibility for the next zone pull. The next zone is not as bad as a pull as previously, but you're going to see here a difference in strategy. As the zone expands, he waits and waits and waits to maximize the distance he can use with his void mask and puts himself in a very nice high layer. he's going to repeat the exact same thing, waiting for the zone to expand, and then once again using the Void Mass to get in. Also, take note here how incredibly aggressive he is on the opponent on his lair for a couple of reasons. Once, it's a great refresh opportunity, and also this will bully him off the lair. He does try to go for an impact here and realizes it's not worth it, retreating back to his metal box, realizing that more than likely there will be better opportunity. This next zone is going to be the reason why Boltz is going to win this game. He's going to repeat the exact same rotation, waiting for the zone to expand and eventually get in. He makes a double box here and capitalizes on the fact that 6-time FNCS champion Epic Whale did not realize that Boltz had his tops. He starts off with an absolutely massive shot in his head here, and he's able to continue the pressure, using the shotgun to weaken the structure, taking the ramp, hitting a nice one pump, and now, in addition to all of the mythic loot he also has the invisibility medallion, which is by far the strongest in this chapter. After securing the impact onto Epic Whale, he has a significant amount of materials now. However, he doesn't rush things, even taking zone to make sure he gets all the loot, and then using the invisibility sprint to get to front side essentially for free. He immediately pops a bob down and recognizes another refresh opportunity as the opponent does not realize that he's behind the wall. He edits it, eventually doing some damage, sliding in a cone, and then picking up another elimination. Boltz is going to show some fantastic game IQ throughout this rotation. He realizes that there is an opponent on height here, and despite a significant amount of materials, he is not going to go for it. He then uses the Void to go directly underneath height so he doesn't get spotted. At this point, he knows he still wants a refresh of materials as well as additional points, so he goes from front side to back side to catch players who are a significantly amount weaker than him, hitting 2 hard shots onto both of them, getting 2 impacts essentially for free with the invisibility medallion, thus strengthening the chances that he's going to come out on top in this endgame. As you can see, after picking up those impacts, Boltz wants to play for height here, but unfortunately, height realizes this and ends up hitting him for a good amount of damage. He pops 2 quick heals, but because he has so many materials, he's able to essentially full tarp the rest of this zone. Eventually, he's going to recognize that the opponent is very choppable, and he's going to tank some zone here to chop the opponent. He realizes after taking height, the opponent doesn't have any more materials, and he's going to claim it for himself. And as you can see down below, all of the rest of the players in the lobby are fighting on low ground with little to no materials. Boltz is also going to pick up 1, turning it into a 1v1 eventually. He nearly ends up throwing this though, as he jumps directly into the opponent's face, whiffing the shot, and the opponent does a significant amount of damage. Boltz doesn't panic though, throwing down a bob to get him some white additional heals, as well as using a shield fist. At the same time, he is going to use the mythic medallion to run back and forth, making it incredibly hard to track, and eventually the opponent is going to make a desperation edit up, and Boltz is able to secure this victory out, which ended up helping him win this solo cash cup quite easily. Well guys, that is going to do it for today's VOD review. I hope that you guys did enjoy. If you did, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications. And I hope I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.